Sincere greetings to the dear audience of our Africa Bridge program YouTube TV series, synchronized with Hello Gambia, Banjul Focus, online radio, online television platforms, and then recently extended to its platform on TikTok. I am your brother, Ambassador Isa Bokar C. On this program today, we are back to discuss what are the causes of the effects we live through in the respective Ecowas member states, the 15 member states. Well, these effects come with instability. What causes it? There are two areas in governance or along the lane on which processes are found. Some of them transform to operational policies. Some of them shaped to be referenced as law or constitutions. What are the main factors? There are constitutions, then elections. It is within these constitutions that term limits are referenced or expointed. It is there that they are respected or disrespected. We have to remember one thing. Nobody has ever been able to control facts because they are stubborn. Neither can anybody be able to ignore facts. Even if you do, it's not going to take long for you to come to remember that you are going to catch up with those very facts. It is like trying to ignore charcoal or glowing charcoal covered with wool, covered with dry grass, covered with dry leaves, or covered with blankets. Sooner than later, smoke will rise and flames will follow suit. We cannot continue entertaining the idea of trying to ignore the fact that not respecting term limits within our constitutions is one of the causes of turbulence, uprisings, and tensions in West Africa. We cannot. Well, one may try to massage your ego or the egos of others, but when you look at it on the other way around, in fact, it is more illegal to refuse to address it than trying to trample upon those who talk about it. You see, tampering with constitutions is a very dangerous route to take. We are also hearing certain views or opinions being magnified or amplified by people who think power is opportunity, not a responsibility. Power is not an opportunity. It is responsibility. And the responsibility should begin where one rises above self. Don't be selfish. Be selfless. The moment you are selfless, you will come to understand that power is not an opportunity, it is a responsibility. That being the case, tampering with constitutions, we have all seen what it has brought us in Ivory Coast, in Senegal, and other countries. So this message is not only going to the Gambia, but it's going to any member state within West Africa. As long as sitting governments are not ready to be honest enough to address term limits, are not honest and brave enough to address the effects that come with elections, it will take a long time before we realize a stable Sahel region or a stable West Africa. That is the fact. We do hear opinions like or references like there are rigging-proof elections or rig-proof elections. There is nothing more mesmerizing and misleading than that. Nothing, in fact, is risk-proof, risk-proof, or nothing is immune from failure or lapses. Nothing. 100% doesn't exist in any system or in anything. But where one sees two sides of a coin and the other one has lesser risks, why not you choose that one? Let me repeat it here. No election is rig-proof or rigging-proof. In fact, one expects it. Had it been possible, we would have expected it with paper ballot boxes, where you have somewhere to tick and where you have the picture of the person you are voting for on that ballot. But when it comes to the marbles, they are more vulnerable and they are more susceptible to being rigged. You see, some people don't understand what, how would I call it? A security threat or security risk means in analysis. They don't. You see, the worst part of analysis is trying to cover facts. And you know that when you cover those facts, they are like glowing charcoal. You cannot cover it with wool. It cannot be possible. Let's be honest to ourselves to understand that the lane of activities or the lane of activities called continuity is what makes a nation progress. This is a generational issue. Today we are all making reference to what used to happen before we came to be where we are today. From slavery days to colonial era to post-colonial era, let's say in the Gambia to the PPP regime to the former government and today. You see, we have all been taught, save those who have not reached the stage, but anybody who went through tertiary level education or you studied subjects like social science, social studies, or anything else that is related to psychology, psychoanalysis, call it whatever you want. We all know that the simplest way of analyzing thought is past experience based on subsequent mental operation. Now, if we bring that to be the yardstick, the justification, how are we able to miss what we are criticizing as far as yesterday? How are we able to miss that today? If, in fact, if you deliberately want to ignore what you were criticizing yesterday, today, that means you are jeopardizing tomorrow for the future generation. The best way for any country in that part of the world, including the Gambia, to establish a lasting guarantee or quote-unquote insurance for the future generation is to make sure that we understand we are not going to live in the Gambia forever. We have to pave the way for the future generation. One of the best ways to pave the way for future generation is not to be tampering with constitutions and to be conducting free and fair elections and to reduce corruption. That is one of the best ways or some of the best ways to follow to guarantee inheritance, to guarantee the future generation that they are going to inherit something that they'll be proud of. Let us be honest to ourselves. There is no rigging-proof election, particularly election done with marbles. Had there been any rigging proof election, we would have expected it to be closer to ballot boxes. And even with that, there may be some discrepancies here and there. But some of the discrepancies that are human error is not the same as where elections are rigged. But people don't want to talk about this topic. They believe it's a taboo. There is nothing that is that should be considered a taboo in what is fair, in what is honest, in what rises from checks and balances and accountability. There shouldn't be a taboo in it. Well, let's be honest to ourselves, though. Some of us were in school before, leading strikes here and there, demonstrations here and there. Some grew up to criticize the PPP regime, criticize the Jammeh regime. And today, those very people are occupying offices in the Gambia. So what's the difference between what you were lamenting on in the past and where you see it happening in the present? What's the difference? Unless and until if you are dishonest to yourself. That's why there was a time during a conference or an engagement with some scholars or some students, I said this. In fact, I began saying it on YouTube during the time that all of us rose up to fight against what we call tyranny in the Gambia. You see, that is what they call the democratic despot. What is more dangerous? You see, there are two dictatorships in the world. Or three, I can say. The gun dictatorship, some call it the military dictatorship, the certificate dictatorship, and the democratic dictatorship in quotes. It is where people will have the semblance of all the institutions in place. You make reference to the judiciary, the legislature, the executive. You study it at school. You memorize it and give answers. But what matters most is not to have them in form, like symbolically. No, you cannot have it as form. It must be substance. Okay? But where it is form, be rest assured that it is where you will discover what is abnormal or the anomalies. We must be ready to speak truth to ourselves, to stop tampering with constitutions, to be honest to ourselves and put in place electoral cycles or clauses and laws that will make sure that any government that comes to place will respect term limits. You see, if we test it, you will come to realize that it is a very, very good thing for a country. In fact, current or incumbent leadership will find it easier when they leave the seat of power and remain on what they began. If they put in place term limits, respecting the rule of law, slicing corruption, or limiting it, when they are no longer in power, they will in fact enjoy more of being former presidents than the present president. Absolutely. It is what gives the person the chance also to leave and come back, to prove a point after coming back. But where we refuse to listen to facts, to listen to honesty, to sharpen our listening skills, to listen to experience, it is not going to be a region of progress. In fact, it is going to be a region of retrogress. We have to stand up and speak truth to ourselves that some of the causes of the instability in West Africa is tampering with constitutions and also not respecting regulations that go with elections in the strictest manner. Thank you very much. It's your brother Ambassador Isa Bokar C.